Today we're going to talk about a subject that I don't look at very often here on ProPhotoLife.com, and that is Photoshop techniques, photo montage specifically. I'm far from a Photoshop expert, but I do like to create photo montages every once in a while, and I thought for the complete beginners out there, this might be a help. So we're starting out with an image on the left of textures. It's a bricked-in window. I love collecting textures and photograph them when I see them. And then on the right, we have a photograph of a friend. She's an actress and a model. And I really liked her striking red hair and how it works with the brick on the photo at left. Now, this photograph of her was just taken in her home with a hot light bounced into a wall. There's nothing fancy about the technique used there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the photograph of the actress and we'll select it using keyboard shortcuts, Control A or Apple A, and then V for the move tool. And I'm going to click on it and I'll hold down my shift key so that when I pull it over to this canvas, it pops in perfectly centered. We can now get rid of the photograph on the right, and I'm going to make this canvas just a little bit smaller with a little room to work. And since it's already selected, I can grab the edge of the image and resize it. You may notice I'm using Photoshop Elements, so the interface may be a little bit different than your Photoshop. Photoshop changes version to version, and so not everyone's going to be working on exactly the same program, but this is the less expensive brother of Photoshop, Photoshop Elements. And I have that pretty well positioned, but I can't tell exactly where I want it unless I go over here, and with that layer selected, I change the opacity. So I've reduced it down to about 50% so that I can see through the model photograph and then position her exactly where I would like her in the frame. Once I've done that, I'll go ahead and put the opacity back to 100%. The next thing I want to do is start removing some edges of the photograph of the model. Now the quick and dirty way to do that is just to grab the eraser tool and start, oops, I'm on the wrong layer, is to start erasing away at the edges. Now that does kind of accomplish what we want, but that's destructive to the image. It's removing pixels. I'm going to hit Apple Z or Control Z to undo that last step. I want to use non-destructive editing so that we're not actually throwing away any of the digital information in the image in case we'd want to go back and slightly modify something. Instead, I'm going to use a mask on this layer, and that will help me mask out the portions of that layer that I don't want to see. I'm going to select a black brush, and another interesting thing is this is not normally a part of Photoshop Elements. I had to do a little workaround to be able to install layer masks in Photoshop Elements. It's normally only a part of full-featured Photoshop. So if you come to ProPhotoLife.com and look up quick video photo montage, you'll find how to install layer masks in Photoshop Elements. As you can see, I'm painting onto this layer mask black, and where I paint the black, it conceals the image below. White reveals and black conceals. So where it's black, we don't see that part of the image. If I were to change my brush to white and paint back in those areas, then it brings it back, which is really cool. I can take away or I can conceal or reveal as I wish. I'll go back to the black brush and then paint that away again. Now I'd like to do a little bit more fine work with the revealing than the black brush allows me to. I'm still going to use the black brush, but I'm going to change the opacity down to about 25% or so. And now it's going to come out gray, and I can go into more delicate areas and bring back those areas more delicately. It's not instantly taking everything away. It's just revealing at a lower rate. I do see here with her hair, I have painted away a little bit too much. I'm going to switch back to my white brush because that does reveal, and I'll begin painting on that layer mask in white again to reveal her hair. I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush here just to give me a little bit more control. That's too small. There we go, and I'm painting back in detail as I want it. So that's basically how a layer mask works. Now let's add a new layer. Oops, new layer. And I'm going to create a burnt edge on the image. Again with my black brush, this time with the opacity to full. And I want the brush, oh gosh, around, I'd say 200 pixels. And I'm just painting a black edge. And it can be very rough black edge. We'll just work that in. I like it to be different every time that I do it. Although I will save one of these edges every once in a while as just a Photoshop file. There we have a burnt black edge around the image, but it's just a little bit too bright. It's heavy-handed. So I'm going to take that layer and turn the opacity down, oh, let's say to 65%. And there we have a really good-looking photograph. I like what I've done. The last thing I want to do is to just pump up the saturation of the color just a little bit. And again, rather than applying hue and saturation to an actual image, I'm going to create a hue and saturation layer, and we'll bump that up just a touch. There we go. And now we have 4 layers to this photograph. And after spending the time to create something like this, I will save this as a Photoshop document, a layered Photoshop document, so that if any changes need to be made, I can quickly go in and work on individual layers. But I will export this as either the highest quality JPEG or a TIFF file so that I can use it for printing. So that's it for basic photo montage techniques. I hope this has been a help. If you have any questions, there's additional information, again, on ProPhotoLife.com. Quick video, photo montage episode. As always, I've enjoyed making this video for you. I hope it's been a help, and I hope to see you at ProPhotoLife.com soon.